I'd like this to be a work that feels kind. I usually find it cliche to begin any piece of writing with a quote, but I feel like I had to make an exception for this one. You can practically feel the genuineness radiating from one's quote here given its simple and pure demeanor. I am not sure if I have ever heard anything more authentic and raw.
It's raw!
This was one's response in an interview when describing the concept for Mob Psycho 100. Now I'm guessing if you click the video, you're familiar with Mob Psycho 100. In fact, it's also probably safe to assume that you enjoyed the series. Thus, phrases like Mob Psycho is amazing or the show is so awesome may seem like apparent expressions to you. But in this video, I want to present to you a phrase that you might not be as familiar with. Mob Psycho 100 is kind. Before we elaborate on this kindness, if you could be so kind, I would greatly appreciate it if you could make sure and subscribe if you haven't, give the video a little like, and follow me on my Twitter for any updates. My buddy Mikeyuubi will also be kindly joining me for this video, so make sure you go and check out his channel as well. By doing this, you would be helping us out by getting the YouTube algorithm governors off our backs. But enough rambling, let's get into why you clicked the video in the first place. I don't feel like there's a need to give a synopsis for Mob Psycho. That's not the point of this video. I'd rather save my time and focus on the essay's main assertion, that being that the work Mob Psycho in itself is kindness. So begs the question, what exactly is kindness? I know it's a notion we credit ourselves as being familiar with, but can you honestly say to yourself that you know exactly what it means to be kind? The strict definition of kindness is that it is the quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. But even those words can seem idle at times. We are encouraged to show kindness, but how do we actually do that? While I do think that kindness is somewhat of a subjective term, I sincerely believe unfeigned kindness can be found in Mob Psycho. While I assert that the work as a whole feels kind, I would argue that the core focus of the kindness lies within the characters of the series. To be specific, it is within the connections they build amongst one another. And to solidify this specificity completely, it is the connections between Mob and each individual character in the series. As overused as it may be, the statement kindness is contagious still holds true. This is especially accurate when you have a protagonist who changes people's lives. Mob is the epitome of virtuousness. He is a walking form of righteousness. While the principle of morality is not an essence that one person should determine, Mob uses both his psychic and humanistic abilities to uphold integrity to the best of his capabilities. And that's crucial. It is imperative to remember that although Kageyama encompasses godly powers, he's still human. He still attends school. He too has to struggle when obtaining personal goals. I feel like that there's this misconception that in order to be kind, one needs to be perfect. But that's not true. That's not real. That lacks any credible feeling. A perfected kindness is robotic. It's not empathetic. This is one of the driving forces indicating that Mob is a bona fide good person. The nature of goodness is dependent on learning. A person can't be good without first deciding between what is good and what is not. Mob makes mistakes. He gets angry. Angry enough to go south. Which is the crux of the show. Essentially, Mob doesn't go psycho in order to express his anger, he does it to show kindness. Goodness abides by choice. I'd be hesitant to trust someone who told me that they were naturally a good person. The complexion of what is good does not exist until the identity of what is bad is rejected. Mob is a good person because he fights his demons. Whether his demons take shape in the form of spirits, espers, or his own emotions, Mob will preserve what it means to be a hero by rejecting society's cruelty. And it's not like Kageyama is permanently good after resolving his conflicts. Mob's goodness is continually tested because he chooses to stay and face the threat. A person's goodness can be measured by the amount of times they have undergone and overcome trials. Mob's ultimate trial is overcoming his belief that he needs to repress his feelings in order to express kindness. But throughout Mob's heroism in the series, he learns that the real answer to being a good person is by being emotionally liberated. Mob's kindness is genuine because he endured in order to learn what it means to be good. It is difficult to express genuine kindness without possessing a developed amount of goodness. Thus, to be good is to be kind, and to be kind is to be Mob. So Mob is kind. I think we've made that clear. But again, we are talking about a work that is kind, not just a main character. In order for kindness to be expressed in a series, there needs to be two working factors. And in Mob Psycho 100's case, this is Kageyama's relationships within the story. We are all factors of our environment. No matter who you are, if you spend enough time with a certain person, you'll find yourself unconsciously portraying similar characteristics as them. This is evidently why having kind friends is paramount. If you don't believe me, look back at Mob Psycho. Before fully accepting Kageyama's kindness, all the other main characters in the series, whether this be Reagan, Dimple, Teru, or Ritsu, were not good people. While some of them were not necessarily bad people, even though some of them definitely were, I don't think it could be argued that they were kind people. But this only makes sense. Kindness cannot shine in the presence of more kindness. It needs to be juxtaposed to maliciousness. In fact, this theory can be applied to practically every character in the series that Mob encounters. Whether it's subconscious or not, every person strives for some sort of bond or attachment. This is true regardless if it's someone like Musashi Goda or more prominently, Toriichiro Suzuki. However, this passion for a link will sometimes only manifest in the face of true kindness. A one-of-a-kind kindness, which simply gives because it knows that people need other people. So go out there and find a mob in your life. It's like my great-grandma always said, why go near a violent mob that will beat you up when you can find a kind mob that will fill your cup? To further illuminate the kindness of Mob Psycho 100, I would now like to pass the mic to my good pal Mikeyuubi, who has graciously joined me for this video.
As Weeabooth has brilliantly explained, a lot of the core foundation of kindness is mostly expressed through Mob and how others around him react and respond to this act. One makes it known on multiple occasions not only how important the action of being kind is, but how it's a crucial part of getting you through the best pathway you can possibly take in your life. And so this leads to the question, what truly happens when that piece of kindness is no longer present? Being kind is often seen as such a small thing in life, and I think it's really quite mind-blowing how people really undermine the sheer value it carries in not only making a change for your life, but those that are around you as well. For this example, I want to bring up Reagan, and yes, while Reagan definitely seems like an odd choice to bring up in a conversation surrounding kindness, I personally believe one has demonstrated the monumental weight of how important kindness is through the character arc Reagan goes through during season 2. Allow me to explain. As stated before, Mob is the kindness that everyone needs in their life, this especially being the case for Reagan. However, this is something that Reagan himself doesn't realize until it's too late. Due to Mob being a younger, quieter, and not so confident individual, Reagan often views him as a small piece within his life that he believes he can continue to dictate without any repercussions, being shown when Reagan talks down to Mob and tries to manipulate him when Mob just wants to spend more time socializing with others, as it marks a bridge of independence of his confidence growing stronger. This almost scares Reagan as he doesn't like change, this being something to keep in the back of your head for later, leading to him making himself look like a downright horrible person with the words he says to Mob, and this is something Mob himself realizes, which marks a break in their partnership. This was Reagan's first major mistake, as he tried to use Mob's own kindness for his own benefit. Kindness is something that comes naturally, it's not a tool that you should be using for yourself, as kindness is never something that is just about you, but is mostly an action that is focused on others. And because of how Reagan saw Mob, aka kindness, being only a small piece in the grand scheme of things, it makes sense for Reagan to be falling into a downward spiral. A crucial part of what made him stay on a somewhat stable path was now gone, and as people say, you only realize how important something truly is until it's taken away. So now, with Mob out of the picture, just who and what was Reagan truly? Instead of adapting himself to the kindness Mob was consistently showcasing throughout the series, Reagan let that chance of becoming a better person slip away. As hinted in his exchange with Mob before their separation, Reagan is shown to be someone who doesn't like change. It's why he grew defensive in that altercation, and it's why Reagan is, well, Reagan. Someone who manipulates, lies, and wants to take charge of others to give himself that relief of feeling comfort in a safe space. Yet with kindness, it's not something you can control. As Weeabooth greatly put it, kindness is something that is only pure and honest, which is exactly what Mob is. Reagan was too self-centered to realize what Mob truly was, only until he reached the lowest point of his life. After Reagan's press conference about him being a scam artist, he meets Mob where he asks him the question if he found out about the type of person he truly is, which at this point shows how truly aware Reagan has become with himself, and not being happy with what his true colors are, which gets expressed in these next few moments. And to this, Mob replies with how he's always known from the beginning what kind of person Reagan is, cut into such a superb showcase of human emotion from Reagan, a rush of heavy emotions circulating through him in not only shock, but regret and embarrassment as his face looks away from us for the final few seconds of this scene. I think majority of us at this moment could agree that Reagan deserved what was coming to him, yet that's not how this scene plays plays out, as we get a response from Mob continuing his sentence as he says he's always known his master is a generally good guy. And this is the epitome of kindness that finally makes its breakthrough to Reigen. The first thing that flashes through his head being his first interaction with Mob, where that small bit of kindness he displayed was the crucial element that made Mob become a part of his life. And so at that moment, it doesn't become seen as something so small anymore, but now one of the biggest turning points in Reigen's life. This theme of Mob being a crucial part in Reigen's life is made consistently clear through the visuals of the anime, whether it be Reigen's office having no light from the inside due to Mob's absence, having only one ray of light shining in from the outside, not only symbolizing Mob experiencing other opportunities of life outside of Reigen's restraints, but also showcasing how Reigen had turned his back on Mob by having the light hitting his back and not coming in any further, or even Reigen's world being filled with color the moment Mob enters his life, and this being further reinstated through a whole ending dedicated to the perspective of Reigen through black and white visuals that only turn to color when he comes into contact with Mob. One has demonstrated how kindness is a necessary part in everyone's life, even when it comes to the characters in his story that show it less often than others. If there's anything one has shown through characters such as Reigen, it's how the act of kindness shouldn't be seen as a small thing, but rather something incredibly significant when it comes to being a better person as well as finding true happiness. And that's exactly what Mob's purpose is throughout the story. Someone who looks so small in the grand scheme of things, who's actually the one person making a better change for everyone around him. And that's honestly something you can't help but admire and wish to become.
Overall, if you are in need of more kindness in your life, watch or read Mob Psycho 100. And if you already have, do it again. I am not exaggerating in the slightest when I say it will make you a better person. And take that kindness that you gained from the series and further spread it into the world. Mob is the ideal protagonist, and we can all learn from his ability to promote what is good. You know, there is also something else you can spread into the world. This video! You know, the one you're currently watching? Did I ruin the moment with my shameless plug? I did? Oh well. At the very least, just remember everyone, you can't be a weeb without saying oof! Later.